Okay, so we're going to walk through one of the ethical problems, one of the 5 ethical problems that make up this tutorial, Research Ethics for Navigators. As Deanna and Brenda have probably already explained to you, it uses extranormal characters. These are choo-choos. These are hip-hop and hippie musicians from different times in the past. And the reason for using them is research ethics can be kind of dry material, and we were hoping that these little characters would make it more interesting. So each ethical problem starts out with a conflict, and this one is about recruiting your neighbors. There's a little intro here, as you see, and then there's a video. This one is 36 seconds long, that sets up the conflicting scenario. I'm going to be able to walk through this with the screencast software, but unfortunately it doesn't capture the audio very well, so I'm going to describe the action as it plays. You can at least see the characters moving around. These are all kept in YouTube, so they're actually accessible to the public as well as people in the course. The characters come together. Helena Hip Hop, and Eddie. Helena is the navigator, and Eddie is the neighbor who has had a mild stroke. Helena wants him to be in a research project, and he's not sure because he's just gotten home from the hospital and he's still pretty overwhelmed. So she's now faced with a conflict. What's the right thing to do? And we give her 2 choices. She knows the study could help Eddie and potentially many others, so one approach is to be assertive and try to persuade him. The other way of looking at the conflict is that people have a right to refuse things even if they're good for them in the long run, and she should move on. So she's going to pick the first one and just get the job done. So Helena is trying to steer Eddie toward the right decision. Now, as we can see, this is not the correct approach. And what happens is, in this vignette, she expresses understanding, but then she goes on to pressure him because it could help other people, and that stroke is very bad. And she talks about, she uses a lot of big words like disparities and morbidity and mortality. And it just makes him feel like he has no choice but to participate. So I'm going to stop this video. And then we're going to click continue to see what happens after she's taken this approach. Oops. So Eddie's going to try to evade her now because he was forced into doing something he didn't want to do. So Helena's leaving. And Eddie is going, oh man, now I'm stuck. He really doesn't want to do anything. He's afraid that he's being made to seem like a bad guy. He says maybe he should change his cell phone number. So we have a principle that participation in research should always be voluntary. We click on this link to see how otherwise it might have gone. This is the right approach. And this time, Helena is very understanding. And she tells him how she understands. She talks about the project and how stroke is a very bad thing and should be avoided. But then she goes on to tell Eddie that his health comes first, and that research is voluntary and on top of what he does to get better. So he asks her ultimately if he can think about it, and she says yes. And then, as we're going to move this along a little bit, so no pressure. And she turns and goes away. And he's looking after her wistfully and waving bye-bye. So at this point, this is a good outcome. And Eddie's waving bye-bye. And he's saying that having the stroke was not just my personal bad luck. He says he'll talk it over with his wife, ask his doctor if he's strong enough to participate. And he goes, "Oh dear, I hope that young lady doesn't forget about me. I wonder if she has my cell phone number." And you can see down here, these are already expanded, but to reinforce the what they've just learned, the learner is asked, which of the following is a guiding principle of research? Participation in research must always be voluntary, and then there's a statement here that explains, why that's the case. Then the alternative is people should be urged to participate in research because it's so good for them, and no, we continue to reaffirm people's autonomy. And the other four modules work pretty much like this.